Well, hello guys, how's it going today? And today there was the release of this new mode called No Man's Sky Experimental, and I just want to talk about it and trying to help you guys to get the better FPS when you're playing No Man's Sky. So No Man's Sky got released on Friday, and there are some issues with the game. I personally have also found some issues with the game. And I think the PlayStation 4 version is way more optimized than the PC, and that just boggles my mind how that's. But you know, that always happens with PC releases nowadays. Nobody cares apparently. So let's get into what I did and what happens if you use this experimental mode. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so what you do is you click on the properties and you go to the beta section. And you enter a code, which the code will be in the description, and there's a link to the place where you can get the code. Is in the Steam. You put this code in, and then you press check code. And once you click check code, it will appear below in this drop down, and then you click it, and you will download it right here. It's only 17 megabytes or so. After downloading, you're gonna start the game, and there will be a difference, either a good difference or a bad difference. For me, it was a horrible difference, and I'll show you right now. First thing, the game didn't want to launch. After the game launched, and it was horrible. I mean, it was even worse than when originally. This is an experimental thing, of course, so you really shouldn't do it. You only do it if you have done everything else. You only do it if you have done everything else, and this is your only option, then you can go test this out. But essentially, I would prefer you to have the original instead. So first thing, the first thing, it takes so long to load. Before, it only takes a couple of seconds, and right now it's just taking so long. Look at all this time that's been passing by, and this thing is still loading, and it's lagging and stuttering, and it's just awful. So that's just one thing that told me this is just a worse. Let's get to another one. Once the game actually loaded, I changed a couple of the settings. First thing I did was increase the FOV because I wanted to. Put the max FPS to max. Always do that. And other thing I did, I changed the filtering to 4 and it to borderless mode. This will actually improve your FPS. In the non-experimental version of the game, it will actually improve your FPS. I've tested it and it works, and I will show you later on. Let me just show you this. First thing, the mouse is jittering and it's really laggy every time I move my mouse. It's just awful. It was just awful. I was just trying to do best, and it was just lagging, and it was impossible. It was just awful. But now let's get to the good version. Let's go back to the original version to see how it looks, how it performs versus this one. So now I'm gonna show you how to go revert back to the original version. It's really simple. Just go back to the properties. Go back to properties, go to the betas, and go to drop down and click none. And there we go. And it will do another update. And when the update is done, which will take less than 2 seconds or so, once that update is complete, now you have the original and better version, not the experimental. So let's click play and let's see what happens. So the game starts. Says hello games, blah 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 blah. Now let's see how the loading time works. Okay, it's really smooth until there. Let's keep waiting. Let's see what happens. Last one took a long time, like a minute to load. This one, on the other hand, took less than a minute to load, a couple of seconds. So now it is running perfectly fine. Perfectly, actually. It was so smooth. It's working great. The game actually has no problem right now. I'm using the PlayStation 4 controller because I believe it's better. Because I prefer the mouse, but there's sometimes a little bit of jittering, sometimes not all the times with this version. And I just prefer using the PlayStation 4 controller. If you have one, I would recommend using it, because I think you're just gonna have a better experience with it, and it works just fine. You can see right here, it's no problem with the game. The game just works perfectly fine with not using the experimental version. And the experimental version was supposed to fix some of the issues, but what it did, it made them worse. In my case, I don't know in some other people's cases, but experimental did not work whatsoever. So again, the only thing I did was change it to borderless, the filtering to 4, took down VSync, the settings are in video, and the textures are in high, the reflections are in high, and a little bit of FOB. Other than that, the game just working just fine. It works perfectly great. I hope that when next week comes by and they have a new update, I hope that the next update, which they said was gonna come apparently next week, I hope that update fixes a lot of the issues. Now, the other thing I'm going to be also talking about is that I wanted to play this game on the Surface Pro 4, and unfortunately, apparently it does not work. It crashes instantaneously as you open it. The reason why this happens, Hello Games said that the game does not support Intel graphics cards, apparently. That was a bummer, because I really wanted to test this game, or at least play it at a super low setting, 720p or something, on my Surface Pro 4. I just wanted to do that test, but apparently I won't be able to, because the game does not support Intel graphics cards, apparently. If they do fix this or change this, I really do hope they do, because there are some people that do have Intel graphics cards. You know, there are some people out there that do have Intel graphics cards. If you do have an Intel graphics card, apparently you won't be able to play this game. You need a NVIDIA or AMD graphics card to run the game. So again, the game does run really good if I'm using the controller and also the mouse with the regular version. I would not recommend using the experimental. Again, experimental is for if you tested everything else in the community, everything else you tested everything, and that doesn't work, then you can try the experimental, but I wouldn't recommend it. My specs will be in the description, but essentially I have a GTX 970, I have an Intel i5, 16 gigs of RAM, and the game runs perfectly fine, and there's actually no problem with it when I'm using. As you can see here, the game runs really smooth, really feels that 60 frames or even more. I believe it's more, like maybe 80 or 90 frames per second, but the game runs pretty smooth. Soon I will make a comparison video comparing the PlayStation 4 and the PC versions of the game. But looking at them both by my eye, just by looking in my naked eye, it's just, they look exactly the same. I mean, not exactly the same, but they look very similar. And I'll make that video soon, guys, to show you the comparison, because I really, by seeing them both have, I look at the textures on the PC, I look at the textures on the PlayStation 4, and both of them look practically the same, really similar. There isn't that much issue. The only thing that can change is from the PC that I love is the FOB. The FOB is I think is a greater FOB. It's way better, and the anti-aliasing on the PC version is also better. Other than that, the game looks practically the same. And in performance, when the game is not stuttering or lagging or anything, the game on the PC runs really awesome too, really perfect, really smooth, as you can see from this shots. I'm using the controller and there are no issues. I would recommend using the controller, it's just better. So thanks guys for watching this video, and until next time guys, goodbye.